Hey everyone, please listen to this important message that Henry has to share.
Hello, my mama says bad words.
So please make sure to wear your earmuffs for this week's episode. Finding the right jeans is hard. Accepting your jeans is even harder.
Whether you wear boyfriend or boot cut, high rise or low rise, this podcast will teach you to love the jeans you're in. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Tina, and we're going to use modern research to bust diet myths and get real about body after baby.
We're going to take you on a journey of unpacking your old beliefs about food and weight so you can learn to nourish your body and raise body-confident kids.
So put your booty in a chair and let's talk mom jeans. Hey listeners, we are excited to tell you about this amazing brand we just discovered called Dia. Their philosophy is to design clothing for women that want great fashion and proper fit in sizes 14 plus. As you learn to embrace your mom jeans, check out Dia to find denim jeans and a complete outfit for your perfect fit. To help you feel fabulous in your mom bod, Dia is offering our listeners an exclusive savings. To get 30% off, head to dia.com, that's dia.com, and use our code MOMGENES, MOMGENES. You can try the clothes on in the comfort of your own home, keep what you love, and always get free shipping and returns. Finally, a brand that has your mom jeans in mind. Visit dia.com and use code MOMGENES to get 30% off your order. Dia is excited to work with us this season, so head to dia.com and use code MOMGENES to receive 30% off your next Dia order. Okay, now to our episode.
We are in a series called Your Story, where our guests will be sharing the story of healing their relationship with their body. Each person's story is unique to them, and we are humbled by their vulnerability and willingness to join us in this space. As a result, we will not be editing out as many numbers, specific behaviors, or details as we normally would. If anyone's story has details that trigger you due to your healing journey, please press pause and take care of yourself. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode. Today we are welcoming mom and advocate Mia O'Malley, who shares her story of a lifetime of dealing with fatphobia and body size stigmas in the medical community and from loved ones. If you know Rachel and I, you know we are passionate about not only helping parents navigate body acceptance for themselves, but also teaching them how to help their children find body acceptance. This sometimes means having to advocate at doctor's appointments or debunk diet culture nutrition advice found out in our mainstream media. We even did an entire bonus episode on the WW app for children called Kurbo back in season 1, if you want to get more background on the science behind why diets for children are so dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is children are growing physically and emotionally, and to interfere with their relationship with their body through external factors of diets, weight manipulation, and natural bodily changes impacts them as they begin to develop negative beliefs about their body and lose body trust. Today, you'll hear Mia discuss two pieces of the physical impact of her childhood weight loss journey, and we want to do a brief piece of education on those before she shares her story, because if you know us and if you've listened to our season 1 series, you know that we love genetics and the science of the human body. So I'm going to throw this to Tina because she is our science guru here. So Tina, can you explain why children should not be put on low or no carb diets?
I would love to. So thinking that this is even an option makes me cringe, because the bottom line is that our metabolism has two parts to its functionality: catabolism and anabolism. Catabolism is the phase where your body breaks down nutrition, and even its own body if it needs to, like fat, for energy. In anabolism, your body is building up and is storing energy for the utilization of growth. In a person in homeostasis, both catabolism and anabolism are functioning in equilibrium. In certain phases of our lives, one part of our metabolism is functioning higher than the other. For example, growing children and adolescents, the anabolic metabolism is higher than our catabolic metabolism, and this is to help with growth. For all you mamas, during pregnancy, the anabolic metabolism is higher as well to help grow your baby. Basically, we go through phases, especially those in our prime growing years, where our body needs a little bit extra energy to use towards growth. So what does this have to do with carbohydrates? Well, carbohydrates' main job is energy. It can be stored energy or immediate energy, but really the bottom line is that if you are taking the one nutrient that's main job is energy and removing it during a growth phase, like a growing child, or really during any phase, then what is the body going to use for its energy? Well, itself, meaning that it will begin eating itself, its organs, its fat stores, and stop producing necessary functions to preserve its energy, like hormones, digestive enzymes, nutrients for your bones. And this is so dangerous.
Mia also brings up the loss of a menstrual cycle for a child. And in her case, this was blamed on weight gain, not weight loss. And of course, our little antennas went up. So Tina, can you explain why does the loss of a period happen in weight loss and why is it dangerous?
Yeah, so this is going to be similar to what I said before. So if the body's in a starved state, which can mean anything from severe malnourishment to not sitting just a few pounds away from its safe weight, the body is going to preserve energy. And in Mia's case, and most often a lot of girls and women's cases, if the body is not at its equilibrium, it will not function like it should. Hormones will be preserved, slowed down in a production, and therefore not run its menstrual cycle. This is the body's way of protecting you. It is saying, you're not healthy enough to have a baby, so I'm going to prevent it from happening. I see this all the time in clients. And the scary part is that most healthcare professionals don't know what the cause is because they are not trained on the science of nutrition and how the lack of it can affect the body. And there is research out there that shows us that just being put on birth control can be extremely detrimental for one's bones because it will force the body to pull nutrition from the bones, especially during adolescence. And during this life phase, this is the most crucial time of bone development. Long story short, if your child is not having their period, the best path to take is taking them to a doctor or endocrinologist that understands eating disorders. Have their hormones tested to see if their body is producing enough hormone to run their cycle. Get a support team of medical professionals, including a dietitian, that understands eating disorders and can assist your child in supporting their body growth so they can have a healthy future.
Yeah, and as the therapist, I couldn't help but also want to shift the psychological piece. Because children who are told that there's something wrong with their body are more likely to develop eating disorders, depression, and low self-worth. When social constructs interrupt our body attunement, which happens so frequently, loss of confidence is greatly impacted. Low confidence obviously leads to less risk-taking, adventure-seeking, social connections, and increases depression and anxiety. So instead of protecting children from the overblown, quote-unquote, obesity concerns, we are so passionate about protecting children from social constructs, weight stigmas, poor medical care as a result of fat phobia, and mental health issues. We really hope that hearing Mia's story allows people to see the long-term journey of healing that occurs when children's body trust is interrupted and how painful that is. We also love Mia's story of hope and how her healing actually began when she reached that, her quotes, promised land of thinness. I loved that. And realized that it wasn't so idyllic after all, as well as how she turned her story into advocacy for plus-size moms. We really hope that this inspires many of you to learn to love and trust your body at any age, no matter what your childhood experience is. Healing is possible.
So yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Mia before we get started. Mia O'Malley is an advocate for plus-size parents on @MiaO'Malley and founder of @PlusSizeBabywearing on Instagram. She is a certified baby-wearing educator, social media consultant, writer, photographer, and a mom. She has been featured on the Plus Mommy podcast, Cup of Joe, Parenting Magazine, Kindy, and The Today Show. She is newly based in Connecticut via Jersey City with her husband Sean and 2-year-old son Ivan. Mia views fashion as an advocacy issue for plus-size people and baby wearing as an advocacy issue for plus-size parents. Let's get to it.
All right, well, welcome to this episode, Mia. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we are going to put you on the spot, and we want to ask you, what is a fun fact about yourself?
Breaking the ice here.
I used to work for a celebrity news outfit, I guess you call it, a platform. And I used to do Real Housewives of New York City recaps and
How funny.
and like keeping up with the Kardashian recaps and yeah.
That is definitely fun. We could do a whole.
Did that make you feel very intelligent after having to watch that stuff after a while?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think proud of my college education there.
Yeah.
Oh my. Awesome. Well, that is definitely fun. So yeah, we are going to jump right in and really ask, what is your story about healing your body?
Yeah, so it's been a long journey for me. I was a fat child, and about as far as I can remember, I've always been a fat person, and I never knew that there was anything wrong with my body until I went to school, and kids told me that there was something wrong with my body, and then later doctors told me there was something wrong with my body when I was very young, and you know, I didn't think that there was anything wrong with me until somebody told me that there was. And then I also didn't see anybody who had a body like mine who wasn't desperately trying to change their body. So at a really young age, I internalized that there was something wrong with me that I needed to change if I wanted to be a good person. Like there's a morality to it when you're that young, and there's even a morality to it now as an adult. We moralize size, we moralize food, but especially as a child, because you understand kind of two things, like good and bad. So I understood at a young age that I was bad because of my body. And I just had that reinforced over and over again by the medical community. When now looking back on it, I realized that I was a perfectly healthy child, that there was really nothing wrong with me at all. I was put on my first diet at the age of 10, or age of 11, and it was shortly after I had my first period. And the doctor said that I needed to lose X amount of weight if I wanted to have my BMI under a certain amount. So I was sent to a nutritionist who, and this is back in 1990-ish, 95-ish or something, 96-ish. And that was when no carbs, low fat was like key. So I was put on an almost zero carb diet, low fat everything, fake sugar everything.
The dietitian inside me is screaming.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sure it is. Super low cal. And I remember I remember that I lost a lot of weight. And I remember that sometimes I would binge on an entire loaf of bread secretly because I was so starved of carbohydrates. Like nobody really wants to eat a whole loaf of bread if they're really feeding themselves the right way. But so I lost a bunch of weight, and I had already had my first period, and all of a sudden after I lost a bunch of weight, I didn't have my period anymore. It was gone. And so my grandmother, who was like a registered nurse, and my mom, and they took me to Boston Children's Hospital to like two of the most renowned pediatric endocrinologists to take a look at why I wasn't having my period. And the advice that those two endocrinologists, like two of them saw me, gave me was, you need to lose more weight if you want to get your period back. So that just, led me on a whole journey of, I thought to myself, okay, I've lost all of this weight and it's still not enough. And there's still something wrong with me. And it was almost like a confirmation that this is like a failure of my body, that, that I need to keep either losing weight in order to fix this, or maybe I should just give up altogether because I've already worked so hard and sacrificed so much. And now I need to lose more weight and I'll never get to be good, And so that continued like a lot of, extreme dieting throughout my entire adolescent and into college. I had doctors who put me on phentermine, which was like totally messed up my whole college experience, my relationship. I think just destroyed my metabolism. I think definitely negatively affected my mental health.
Well, it's
And
speed.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
it's
you're giving a child speed
it's a
to
drug. Yeah, it's a very serious drug.
gosh,
Definitely
which is
lost
banned
lost a lot of weight
PS
on
now.
that. I mean, I've done it all. And this all kind of led up to, just like a lot of weight cycling throughout my life at a very young age, started that weight cycling, and always had problems, getting my period. And then they just put me on birth control and just cover that up with the birth control pill. And then, anyway, this all leads up to my beautiful, gorgeous wedding that I had planned with my husband. It was just like the most perfect wedding. It was Valentine's Day. There was like a light snow on the ground. There was, candlelight and roses inside this hall. And, it was just a beautiful moment. Like we had wonderful, like all the people who loved us were there. My husband was so excited. And I really wasn't happy. And the reason I wasn't happy was because for my wedding, had gotten to probably one of the lowest weights in my life. And, I had all of this, like, you look amazing, you look great. But all I could see, even though I had gotten to where I wanted to be, all I could see was the outline of my lower belly in my dress. I could see my arms that were, just too big in my mind. And I was just unhappy. I felt like I had not done enough. I should have done more. I should have lost more weight. And all of this, like this extreme disordered eating that I had, leading up to my wedding, just put me in this horrible headspace mentally, because, I was almost like starving myself, like extreme caloric restriction, over exercising, not enjoying my life. And then it led to me just I look back on those photos and everything's just so wonderful. And I remember being so unhappy. And when I got to see those photos later after my wedding, I said, extreme dieting, this loathing of my body has gotten in the way and stolen so many moments of my life that I should have been able to enjoy, but I couldn't because I felt like I wasn't in the body I was supposed to be in at the time that I was experiencing those moments. And I said to myself, at the time I was 30, I said, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it, but I said to myself, I'm not going to spend my 30s, like allowing myself not to enjoy my life, or allowing these thoughts and feelings towards my body to disrupt these great moments that I'm having and these great milestones. And it was sort of having to hit that rock bottom there that that helped me try to find a different path. And for me, that it didn't start really with my body. It started in my mind, which I guess makes sense, right? It didn't start with a new diet. It didn't start with a new exercise. It didn't start with immediately being like, I love myself and that's it. It can't start like that. It started at the bottom of a very, very big hill. And the first step I took in that was, I was struggling in my mental health, and I was struggling with, these just the self-loathing due to the feelings I had towards my body. But so I had started doing meditation, and I became aware of a woman named Tara Brach, and she wrote a book called Radical Acceptance. And Radical Acceptance, it's in, I think the subtitle is like embracing your life with the heart of the Buddha or something like that. It is actually, it's such a wonderful book. But sort of the basic, the very important thing I got out of that book was that nothing good can come from hating something or actively rejecting something. It's like, even in thoughts, when you meditate, like, in her practice, you're supposed to welcome the thoughts, like annoying thoughts or scary thoughts or anxious thoughts can come, and then you welcome them and you send them away. And so it's kind of like part of that philosophy is like, really nothing good comes from hating or rejecting something outright. And so looking at myself in a kinder way, accepting the certain things about myself, not just about my body, but changing my internal dialogue to be kinder to myself, to accept, certain choices I've made, to, just to changing that internal dialogue that comes from, just being really hard on yourself. And these stories that you tell yourself that are so tough sometimes, especially, I know moms feel this way all the time, but these stories are not real. Somebody somehow got them into our head, and we cannot gain anything beneficial from hating ourselves. And that includes our bodies, hating parts of ourselves. So that was the big mind shift, and her book can tell it way better than I can, but that was part of it. Another part of it was taking back my fertility, and I started doing a lot of research on how to regulate my periods on my own. And so this didn't have anything to do with weight loss, but it kind of did, because it had a lot to do with nutrition. And I started reading about how important healthy fats are to regulating your ovulation. And I was able to, in a period of time, regulate my own period for the first time in my life through diet, through nutrition, and that sort of changed the way that I was thinking about eating, and changed the way I was thinking about exercise for the first time in my life. I wasn't eating to punish myself. I wasn't exercising to punish myself, and I wasn't eating to restrict myself. I was eating to actually heal my body and experiment and see what things actually felt good and what things didn't. And that was the first time in 30 years I had ever thought of food that way, and never thought of exercise that way.
It sounds like you were actually eating with body attunement, and that is means you're actually being intuitive with yourself. That's great. Yeah.
And it was to be good to myself, and not
kind to yourself
with a different intention. And I don't think I would have got there had it not been through that book, Radical Acceptance, because I spent so much of my life thinking that health was equated with my weight, because I was told that at a very young age, that because of my weight, even though I had no other health concerns, because of my weight, I was not healthy. So I had to change the way I thought about health and the way I thought about taking care of my body. So then I got pregnant because I regulated my ovulation. And yeah, and so that took me on another path, like up that hill, up that big hill. That was a big push up that back hill, because being pregnant was the first time that I really, really wanted to be super good to my body, like in so many different ways. And the acceptance that I felt turned into love, because I loved my baby and I loved my body that was carrying my baby. So there was like a huge connection. I felt more connected to my body than I had in so long. I think a lot of fat people, especially those of us who have been fat since we're a child, we do a lot of like disconnect from our body, like because our body is like in this state of like purgatory or like change, like right, we're not a fat person, we're a person that's on their weight loss journey, right? We're not actually connected with the body that we have now. So there's a lot of like dysmorphia and disconnection that happens with that. And so for pregnancy, for me, put me super in touch with my body.
I want to comment on the fact of like, if you're, so people, I want to comment so people and listeners can hear what you had shared, where as a kid, you identified without even knowing it. Okay, fine, I'm a fat kid. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And it wasn't until people said, there's something wrong with that, you need to change it, that then you shifted your mentality to start to hate yourself, which is just terrible. And I want to point out that in puberty, your body is likely going to change on average anywhere from 30 to 50 pounds. That is normal. That is so normal. So we already have a kid that is fat now is going to gain more weight, not because there's something wrong, but because that is what their body is supposed to do. And that's natural. That's what your body needed to have that cycle. Your body needed to have more fat to hold your menstruation. And so it made sense why later in life, until you got to the point of going, I need to eat to nourish my body. I need to be at a weight that my body wants to be, which might mean more fat. My ovulation is not going to be normal and I'm not going to be able to bear a child, right? I hope that parents listening can understand that if your kid is sitting in a body that is bigger, that is okay. That is normal for their body. And even the most prestigious endocrinologists may give the worst advice possible. Let's not continue down that legacy. Let's shift it so this kid can live down a path that doesn't have to be torturous weight loss. Just let them live in a body that's normal for them. Now that in and of itself is a gnarly road because society is just crappy and fat phobic and doctors are fat phobic, and it's a massive paradigm shift that needs to happen. I appreciate you sharing that part and being so vulnerable.
I see you getting emotional as Tina's talking. What's coming up for you?
I think it's just hard for me. I think as a mother, we look to our like inner child, right? Or we like look back at our past. And I just, I think it's just hard for me to, I just wish I wish that they had left me alone. So it's hard for me as a mom now. Like I'm extra sensitive to it now as a mom because I see my son and I see how much wisdom they have in terms of their own eating. And I was never really given the opportunity. I was never really given the opportunity to experience what my real appetite was, like what my real hunger cues were. I never had that chance to, like, even now, I don't think I really will. It's been so interfered with, um, at this point, but it's really nice to see my son, um, even though frustrating because he's doesn't really like to eat that much, but that's
How old's your child?
he's 2. Yeah.
Girl, it's normal. Yeah. Wait till he's 6. Yeah. It'll
But
be fine.
I
Yeah.
you know, I it's hard, but I think the lessons I learned when I was a kid, really helped guide me because I just and why, like, Weight Watchers came out with Kurbo, and I was very vocal
Don't
about
get us
that when that were
started.
released, and just I have memories of going to Weight Watchers with my mom and just that being a regular thing, and I just think it's so detrimental, and I'm just so vocal about leaving kids alone, and I love the account Feeding Littles. I'm sure you guys know about it, and
Yeah.
love their tenants. So, but things have gotten a lot better, but I think they still have a long way to go.
Long way to go. Yeah.
Well, I hear you saying, I wish I had been given the opportunity to trust my body, because I think the medical community and doctors are the quote unquote experts and the professionals, and so we trust them and we do what they say. And you had obviously had a bad experience with that, as so many people do in this area. And what a gift it would have been for medical community and doctors to say, you know what, we trust you and we trust your family and trust your body, and what does that look like, and you never had that. And look at the long road it took until you gave yourself permission to then trust your body again.
Yeah, it's a fight worth fighting, though. It's a journey worth taking. It's not an easy one, but I'm happy to be doing the work than to be where I was at my lowest weight. I am much, through pregnancy and through postpartum. Um, those were some of the best, like, post those are some of the best times of my life, like, the happiest times of my life, and they weren't in the smallest body. They were in the they were in a bigger body, and they're some of the greatest, most wonderful times because of that journey, I'm able to understand my worth. I I have a husband who loves me. I have my beautiful son. I have a career that I'm really happy with. Um, I'm able to really enjoy those things because I was able to separate my weight from my worth. Um, but it's a long road. It's a long road.
Just to instill this in you, and as a dietitian that works with many individuals, many parents, and individuals that have gone through kind of that dieting journey and are trying to truly overcome that last hurdle, which is different for everybody. But I feel like in your case, you're saying, I still don't feel fully connected in specific ways to my body, whether that's through really trusting my hunger fullness or still having some of that like diet mentality that's lingering because it's been instilled in me since 5 or whatever ridiculousness that is. It is fully possible to overcome that last hurdle. It just takes time, because I think in your case specifically, you're saying this information has been drilled into me since a young kid. And so you've been instilled with that longer than you have not. And so it's going to take a little bit of time for your body to trust you. We think of it in the sense of like, well, I don't necessarily trust my body. Well, flip it around, girlfriend. Your body doesn't trust you. And so you and your body need to be in a better relationship. And that just takes time. Trust takes time to build. So I want to instill that hope in you that, like, don't give up. Don't just accept that this is how it is. You can actually get to that end result, which is full trust. And most often it is because people have had kids and see how beautiful it is that these little individuals can intuitively eat. and be confident in their body. And so we inhale and absorb a lot of that. So
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
of course, I'm like, I'm not going to forget about that part. We have to circle
That's
back
so
around.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I haven't really thought about it like that, in that way, in a hopeful way like that, that I am still on this journey. Like, I am still on this journey in terms of my, like, my hunger and the way I feed myself and stuff like that. Um, like, what's beyond just not dieting? Like, what lies beyond that? That's exciting.
Yeah, what's beyond not dieting and beyond loving your body? You're saying, well, I got to a place where I actually could love my body and not have to diet anymore, which is awesome. But now it's like you can love your body and you can also fully trust it. So maybe it's that last part, which is like fully, without doubt, trusting my body.
Mm. Well, I'll tell you, where I really got tested on this journey, and this journey of trust, was in my postpartum. So yeah, so pregnancy for me was very transformative, in the sense that I was able to care for my body in a way that, even, it kind of upped the ante in terms of me eating with love, moving my body with love, because I loved my baby, and my baby was in my body, and it reconnected me with my body in a way that I had kind of been disconnected for quite a while. That being said, um, it also brought to light a whole different weight bias, weight discrimination culture in the medical community that I had not been aware of and should have expected. But fortunately for me, I came in contact with Plus Mommy, Jen McClellan of Plus Mommy and Plus Size Birth. And I got her a plus size pregnancy guide. I devoured it, devoured all of her resources, was able to connect with a size friendly care provider, knew what I might face, knew what biases I might face. And I was able to, protect myself and steel myself for that. I knew I had certain goals for both my pregnancy and birth. I did not want to be shamed about my weight. I did not want to be lectured about eating habits. I did not want any interventions. I didn't want anyone that was going to qualify me as high risk based solely on my BMI alone, which is not evidence based. I didn't want anyone who was going to tell me immediately that I needed to have a cesarean section without knowing anything about my health or my pregnancy. I didn't need anyone who was going to assume that I was going to have gestational diabetes, assume that I was going to have preeclampsia, assume, and scare the bejesus out of me, which is already scary to be pregnant. So I knew I was ready to encounter all that. I, fortunately enough, had a doctor that was not like that, and found a great practice. Shout out to Womb Keepers in Montclair, New Jersey. They're amazing. But it opened my eyes to sort of a whole treatment and a whole disparity in care that's happening with other moms who are plus size. Because as soon as I was pregnant, I craved community, and I craved being connected to other people who were pregnant. I think some moms feel that way, some moms don't, but I really craved that, and I didn't see anybody who looked like me who was pregnant, and it was very isolating. It was very isolating. All of motherhood visuals, marketing, media is all straight-sized people. There's not a lot of large-bodied people represented. If we are represented, it's in the context of health risks and risky pregnancies and things like that. So there's not a lot of positive imagery. There's not a lot of imagery, period. I didn't know a single person who had my body type who was pregnant or who had been pregnant. I couldn't find the only celebrity I could think of was Tess Holliday, and luckily enough, Jen was on her page, and that's how I got connected to her resources. But there's this dearth of imagery of community, and so I sought that out so much, and then it opened my eyes to the way people are treated so differently based simply on what doctor they have and the way that doctor handles their weight, not actually have anything to do with their health has to do with how that doctor feels about their body. And that opened my eyes to a whole level of sort of that this is way bigger than me and me just accepting my body, that there's a problem here and that I was going to be vocal about it. Um, and, that kind of started my whole advocacy for plus size moms and plus size pregnancy. But again, I know from talking to people, and I talk to pregnant moms, plus size pregnant moms on a daily basis, and plus size moms, and I interact with them on a daily basis, and I know all the different stories. I know moms who have been told, or I know women who were TTC who were told to freeze their eggs and go get weight loss surgery. I know women who have waited for years and years and years to have a baby, and constantly be told to lose 80 pounds, 100 pounds before they can conceive, or like won't help them in any other way until they lose weight. And then I talk to moms who see the right doctor, change the doctor, go to a different place, and they're pregnant in a year, or they have, the most amazing VBAC, or there's just this huge, there's women who are being mistreated, and it's having tremendous impact on not only their fertility, but how they enjoy their pregnancy, their mental health in their pregnancy, and what their birth is like, and then their connection with their child. And so it opened my eyes to a lot of these issues. And so at that point, I started speaking out, and doing the advocacy work that I do on my page daily. And it's something I'm just very passionate about.
Totally. I think it's an important piece to bring up where if you think about, I'll come from like even Rachel and I as people that work with individuals every day. Well, hopefully not every day. We have days off, but our beliefs can be filtered into our work. And it's important that the work that you're doing, you're checking whether those beliefs are appropriate to be infiltrated into what you're doing. So example is, you're saying these doctors, it's going to depend on whether you're scheduling an appointment with a weight-centric doctor that's going to blame everything on our bodies, or a weight-inclusive doctor that actually looks at your health from the inside, right? And so I think it's really important for individuals to make sure that they are having an appointment with a professional that shares the same belief systems. If you're on a journey that you want your body to be focused on, well, that's your right to book a session with a practitioner that's going to guide you down that road. That's not for me to determine for you. There is a different way, and it's likely going to lead to cycling, but it is your right. And for those that don't want that, there are professionals that actually look at your health through science and have jumped off the diet train and weight loss train and are actually treating individuals based off their true health, which is amazing. But we have a long road to go there.
Long road. Long road. And I just feel like, happy mom, happy baby. If you're scaring a pregnant mom, if a mom comes in to see you and she is so happy to be pregnant, she's been waiting a while to be pregnant, she's so happy, so excited for her first appointment, and the doctor tells her, at your weight, you're probably you could have a miscarriage, you're more likely to have a stillbirth, you're more likely to have all of these risks. How does that set them up? What data shows likely will be a perfectly healthy pregnancy.
Right. Let's be positive here.
But that woman has to carry that information with her.
Yeah, because that doctor was fat phobic. Yeah.
And what good does that do? I would like to know, what good does that do?
In my mind, I think about these individuals that are either trying to get pregnant that are living in bigger bodies or are already pregnant in those early stages are fed that information and then diet. It's like the worst thing that you could possibly do for your body, which is deprive it, decrease nutrition, to then try to have you grow a baby. That's the worst case scenario. Leave your body alone. Let it do its thing. We don't actually control growing that baby. Our body does it without us fiddling with it. So any sort of weight change is not likely going to be the positive in that journey.
I think too, so many medical doctors, the medical community, you're right, pull out these numbers and say, like, look at the evidence and look at the science. And one of my favorite quotes is, lived experience is evidence too. You know, like lived experience of, well, actually, based on my life and my history, this is actually the best evidence for me and what constitutes health for me and my body. And I have this experience and I have this history, and I can trust how my body operates because I'm the one who knows my body. And I think so many doctors don't ask the patients, hey, based on your relationship with your body and based on your history, like, how does it feel, or what does work for you, and have some of those collaboration conversations.
That's such a good point. I think also, the thing that I always try to reiterate is that there are increased risks for having a BMI when you are pregnant, or for having a higher BMI when you're pregnant, but those are relatively increased risks. The actual risks themselves are quite low. So you're talking about an increase of a small risk, but that's not how it's advertised. That's not how it's given to pregnant women, and they scare them, and you need to not scare pregnant women.
It's blown out of proportion, right?
Yeah. Proportion. It's fear-based and not evidence-based. And like, this is what I say. It's like, if this is what you're encountering at your doctor's office, at your care provider's office, you need to run for your life to someone else. Like, choosing your doctor, choosing your care provider in pregnancy is the most important choice you will make as a parent, as a new parent. It's your first most important choice. And especially if you are plus size, because we have a 50% increased risk of cesarean section. And that's not all evidence-based. That's not why. That's because that has a ton to do with a medical weight bias. And so it is the biggest choice you can make, is the most important choice you can make, and do everything you can to find care that will be supportive of your body. And if you can't do that, try, if you can, to get a doula or have an advocate with you when you are giving birth.
So for those that don't have that financial privilege to be able to do that, because I don't think doulas are covered by insurance, or if you don't have insurance and you're like, I am literally stuck with the doctor that I am given with, I have to go to this one person. Laura Thomas, who does the podcast Don't Salt My Game, which I absolutely love, has actually created this card to take to your doctor. And we'll link it in the show notes. But this card it basically says, don't treat me from a weight-centric angle. I am not here to focus on weight. I am engaging in intuitive eating and body attunement. If you do not feel like you're able to do that, please refer me to somebody else. And also, here are 5 research studies that show why either weight cycling is detrimental or health at every size is ultimately leading towards a more inclusive and well-based treatment. So we can link that, yeah, for sure. Because I think it's great. It's like, yes, we can be selective, but there is also so much privilege in that. And there are individuals that can't and are just being shoved into this one doctor that is spitting diet and weight bias crap at them. And there is hope for you as well.
the other thing that I would tell people too, that I tell people is, you can have a conversation with your doctor, and even if they are size friendly, they might continue to bring up weight every appointment that you have with them, and you can tell them, I don't want to talk about my weight anymore. Thank you for your advice on this. I don't want to talk about weight in any subsequent appointments. That's your right to do. And most doctors will respect that if you say that. And you can say that. You're an adult and you can say that to them. And if you can't say that to them, bring your partner and let your partner advocate for you. Let your partner say it. Because sometimes people feel shy, or don't feel like they have a voice in a doctor's room. And I find having a supportive partner, if it's your sister, if it's your partner, whoever it might be, just somebody who can use their voice and say that for you, that's also a great way to kind of take back your power, and shift the conversation where you want it to go, and where you need it to go.
We shared a few resources. What are some of the other key resources that have helped you heal your relationship with your body, or that you're really passionate about sharing?
Sure. So, really quickly, I know we've gone a lot of directions, but um, baby wearing was a super powerful tool for me to reconnect with, um, my body, in postpartum. In postpartum, I did not experience the breastfeeding weight loss phenomenon that, or rumor that is spread. I actually gained weight in postpartum, which is incredibly common, but not talked about at all. Um, anyway, I had a new body to connect with, a new postpartum body that was larger than the one I was in when I was pregnant. Um, Baby wearing was a phenomenal tool, just in terms of, practical, like making motherhood and parenthood easier for me. And having my cluster feeder, getting my cluster feeder out of the house, but it also helped reconnect me with my body and made me feel more confident in this new body, because um, I was still, it was still about my baby on my body. And so there's something, um, so anyway, I got very involved in baby wearing, and I saw it when I was baby wearing. I saw that there weren't a lot of bodies that looked like mine in tutorials and things like that. And then I realized that there are tons of carriers with plus size options, but nobody knows. Like, a lot of people don't know. A lot of plus size people reach out to me and say, I didn't even know I could baby wear. I didn't think anything would fit me. And the reason that they feel like that is because there's no marketing done for baby wearing in larger bodies. And that's indicative of a lack of larger bodies in parenthood and motherhood spaces. So that's what led me to found Plus Size Baby Wearing on Instagram, which created a nice little community. And I'm very proud of the work we do there, and led me to become a baby wearing educator. But I hear so much body acceptance and body positivity come out of the baby wearing sphere for postpartum moms, because I I hear echoed time and time again, like, I wore my baby, I was out by the pool, I wore her like a badge of honor, I wore her with a bikini, I wore her up a hike, I wore her, all these different situations in which your body is actually functionally supporting your baby. And it might be a new body, might look different, but it's still super functional and, supporting someone. And it really helps a lot of parents like step into their power. And so I just want to talk a little bit about that, because that was like a huge part of me accepting my postpartum body, which actually was larger than I was before. And a lot of people experience that.
I love how your healing journey has led to finding solutions to some of the broken systems. I love the advocacy work that you have really made as your own, because that also brings back so much power to your story, when most of your story was how the power of you trusting your body was taken from you. And so I love how you have kind of turned it on its head and said, I'm taking the power back, and I'm also now going to spread this knowledge.
Yeah, it's been a real gift for me to connect parents, especially parents who are in larger bodies, to connect them with baby wearing, and give them those tools, and ensure that there are carriers for them, and that their body is not something that they should fear. That there's a lot of there's a lot of this messaging that is rooted in fat phobia, that mom's body will somehow hurt baby. And this is the fear in pregnancy, and this is the fear I hear sometimes in baby wearing. Oh, well, my body's so big, will it hurt baby? And like, your body is uniquely made to support your baby, and your baby is uniquely made to benefit from your body. So your body is super special. And yeah, and so this is sort of me and everyone else are kind of taking the power back, like you said.
So I know you had said feeding littles, Jen at Plus Size Mommy, and then what are the resources for the baby wearing account for that?
Yeah, at Plus Size Baby Wearing.
Oh, at Plus Size Baby Wearing. Okay.
Well, I love that ending. I love that empowerment quote you just gave everyone. That's so helpful. Thank you so much for sharing your story and doing the work you're doing to change the systems. So helpful.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you guys. I appreciate the time to be able to tell my story. Thanks.
We hope you felt inspired and moved by this week's story. Please reach out to the person interviewed to connect with them in the ways they listed, or you can check out our social media pages at Mom Jeans, the podcast, for details on the episode and to find our guests' information. If you love the episode, please leave us a rating and review us on iTunes and recommend this episode to a friend. We are sending you the inner strength to accept your jeans with a G and wear the jeans with a J. Bye. This episode of Mom Jeans was produced and edited by Rachel Coleman and Tina LeBoy.
Just a reminder, this episode is not a substitute for therapeutic counsel or nutrition advice.
Thank you to Jerry DePizzo for the music production.
You can find episode information and show notes at www.momjeansthepodcast.com.
Follow us on Instagram at Mom Jeans the Podcast and join the Mom Jeans the Podcast Facebook group to find a community of mamas learning to love their bodies and discussing the episodes. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Mom Jeans. See you next time.